Do you accept the premise, I guess, from Mr. O'Toole? Will you change anything going forward?
I don't know what the premise is.
Do we have another Apple moment here? Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Pierre doing a press conference, and he is on fire here. Woke reporter tries to get him with some sort of gotcha question from Ottawa, and it blows up in his face, much like the Apple situation. He also blasts Mark Carney on tax dodging. We've got news from Mark Wiseman coming out of committee. We got a bunch of stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, we've got Polling Canada sharing this Research Co. poll showing those who say X person would have made a good prime minister. Layton, 74%. Poilievre, 39%. Stanfield, 34%. Going all the way down here, you can see O'Toole, 28%. He's going to be relevant in this episode. Interesting data here. He's sharing this Palace poll coming out of Ontario, asking what's going on in Ontario where the NDP are surging. Look at this. They're completely eating into the Liberals, a little bit into the Conservatives. I don't know. Is this Abby Lewis drumming up some stuff? Maybe these are people revolting because their deputy and Dolly Buggam floor crossing to the Liberals. They're revolting against her. People don't like floor crossers. We got Melissa with this one in the last 2 weeks. Canada has launched 2 separate investigations into China plywood and steel. How is that possible? They are our new partner in the New World Order. Is the relationship already failing? So CBSA launches investigation into alleged dumping of subsidized plywood from China, and she's got the receipts here, April 14th, and then April 23rd, the same thing, steel racks from China. Is there something to what Donald Trump is pushing back on Canada with? All this alleged dumping of subsidized steel and plywood, all sorts of products, and then go into America. I don't know why we'd bring in wood from anywhere else when we have so much wood here in our own country. Now here he is getting heckled, walking out of Parliament. Listen to this.
Hey, Mark Carney, how much did you pay all your crossers to give you majority? How much did you pay your crossers there, Mark Carney, to get your illegal majority? You need to go, Carney. You need to go. You're worse than Trudeau was.
Wow, good job, whoever this is, sticking it to him here. So this is Dee Marie on Facebook who originally posted this. You can see when she says this, he kind of waves her off like, buzz off. I'm the king around here. That's typical Carney, just arrogant, doesn't care about anyone but himself. Paid CPC operatives. This is so ridiculous. Comments like this, obviously people aren't paid. People can't afford to eat. We do have a little bit of good news here. So the federal government has approved this Enbridge $4 billion Sunrise project in BC. This is a natural gas expansion here for wood fiber LNG. You got Kirk posting it here. So this would eventually link up, as he mentions here, wood fiber LNG project. Now, the reason why this one got approved, you can see it right here. Wood fiber LNG, sustainably produced liquefied natural gas. Open it up. Reconciliation in action. There's no wonder why they approved this project. It's going to be helping wood fiber LNG. This helps their net zero agenda because this is going to be tied to carbon credits and to reconciliation. They're wrapping all this stuff up together. As we can see, sustainability, net zero, there it is. There's no mysteries around here. This book reads itself, setting a new global standard to be the world's first net zero LNG facility. Yes, of course they approved the Sunrise expansion. They need it for net zero. Moving ahead, we've got Doug Ford here. Dirty Dog lost a court battle about releasing his phone records, and instead, what did he do? He changed the laws, making them retroactive so he doesn't have to give up his phone records. Like, this should be against the law. He's using his own power in government to shield himself from the law. Ford government moves to make freedom of information clampdown law. The Ford government has completed last-minute dash to pass its controversial changes to freedom of information laws in Ontario, overruling and reversing court ruling that demanded Premier begin work to release some of his phone records. This guy is so corrupt, just like all the Liberals. Speaking of corrupt, we got Mark Wiseman here. It says Liberal MPs shut down questions from Conservatives and Bloc Québécois MPs, shielding Canada's ambassador to the U.S. from having to answer for his support of open border policies. Another thing that came out of committee with Mark Wiseman is Canadian ambassador to the U.S. apologizes to MPs for English-only invite. So Mark Wiseman here, he issuing an apology, sending an invitation to members of the House of Commons Foreign Affairs Committee for a reception at the embassy in Washington, D.C. on May 12th in English only. So is he getting fired because the CEO of Air Canada was shamed by the Liberals and got fired? How is this any different? If you compare this apples to apples, the CEO of Air Canada, Michael Rousseau, had subtitles on his video. This guy didn't have anything.
On the 12th of May, an invitation went out that was only in the English language. This was an error, an unacceptable error. That has now been corrected and the invitation has been resent in both official languages. In my view, that invitation going out in English only is unacceptable, and I want to apologize on behalf of the embassy and personally
Yeah, but that's not good enough because clearly in Canada, if you make a mistake like that, you have to be fired. The Carney Liberals shamed the CEO out because they want someone who's more favorable to Brookfield to push more green jet fuel at Air Canada so they can make more money off that and boost Mark Carney's Brookfield Global Transition Fund 1. So this guy needs to be fired too.
I want to be firm in my commitment for the need to promote bilingualism in Canada.
This is a joke. Let's get real. The Liberals operate on a different set of rules for themselves. Now, with that, we've got Carney disappointed by U.S. ambassador's invite only. Is he going to fire him, though? Here we got Conservative MP Michael Chong saying that a lot of the information we're getting, it never comes from Mark Carney regarding U.S. relations and trade negotiations.
What we would like to see today from Ambassador Wiseman at committee and also from the government generally is for them to explain to Canadians what exactly is going on. We're finding out things in dribs and drabs. We often find out after the fact, almost accidentally, that the Prime Minister has had a conversation with the U.S. President. We find out afterwards that phone calls have taken place. There's been very little information coming out of the official information coming out of the Canadian government about what exactly is going on.
Meanwhile, in America, they're doing a deal here with the EU, signing critical minerals agreement to produce and secure critical mineral supply chains and pivot from China. Also out of America, we got this just in. U.S. looks into options suspending Spain from NATO over lack of support during the Iran war. Yep. Moving ahead, we've got Pierre Poilievre dropping some truth bombs here during this press conference.
It should close the tax loopholes and offshore tax havens that allow tax dodgers like Brookfield, the Prime Minister's company, to avoid paying taxes. By the way, I find it ironic that he says he can't afford to get rid of all the fuel taxes, but we somehow can afford to allow his company to be the biggest tax dodger in Canada.
Yeah, Carney helped Brookfield dodge $5.3 billion in taxes, and yet he can't remove the taxes off our gas. So it's okay for Brookfield to not have to pay $5.3 billion, but we have to pay. That's how it is around here. Moving ahead, we've got another clip here from this press conference, but to set this up, we got to look back to the situation with Aaron O'Toole. Apparently, he told Global News that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives must moderate their policies. That's the very reason he lost to the Liberals last time, is because he moderated his position versus being more conservative. And it says, ignore the culture wars, ignore the floor crossings, and just focus on long-term prosperity for Canadians.
And I do think the Prime Minister has reset the tone. I think President Trump is still mercurial and difficult to predict, but the Prime Minister has changed the level. We look more professional. We're standing on our own. We're proud of our history. I like all that stuff, David. And I told Pierre Poilievre when I told him that I was taking this, that I thought there was a more serious approach and that I could help, and having a conservative there would help along with Lisa. So he agreed and thought it was a really good idea to provide some of that perspective. So so far, so good.
For me personally, I don't trust a guy who says the moose chart is mostly wrong. That's my own personal vendetta with that guy. We've got journalist Eli posting this, ignore the culture wars. I thought this was a good little fact check here. He's saying Aaron O'Toole tweeted about supporting trans equity, queer pride, and Black Lives Matters while he was conservative leader. That's not ignoring culture wars, just saying. He's also got this one here saying O'Toole was happy to support content creators when he was running to be leader. Here he is on my podcast. Now he's attacking people who help power the conservative movement. The reality is influencers are an asset. Aaron knows this because he used us when he ran for leader. Listen to this nonsense. So this is the article here of O'Toole on Global News saying the former party leader still believes Poilievre will lead the Tories to the next election, but was critical of the party's embrace of social media influencers under Poilievre. Some of the influencers within the conservative movement are now the biggest gifts to the Liberal Party I've ever seen. Ignore all those so-called influencers. They're going to guarantee you a loss in the next election, O'Toole said. I'm curious who this guy's talking about. When it comes down to it, this guy keeps kissing Carney's boots and conservative influencers keep calling him out on X, and he doesn't like it. We got Eli also posting this throwback 8 ways O'Toole is copying Donald Trump's playbook. The Liberals have been doing this for years, trying to tie whatever conservative leader it is to Donald Trump. Well, with all of that said, we got Poilievre here standing face to face with a woke reporter trying to get him with a gotcha question, and it backfires wildly.
Aaron O'Toole told Global News yesterday that you need to moderate your position on culture war issues in order to compete with the Prime Minister. Will you take that advice? Or,
Like what?
These are O'Toole's words, sir.
Like what?
An interview with my Ottawa bureau, sir.
Right, but you said there were issues in particular. Do you have any of those issues?
He says that some of these issues, I don't, sir. I was questions from my colleagues in Ottawa. But do you accept the premise, I guess, from Mr. O'Toole? Will you change anything going forward?
I don't know what the premise is.
That you need to moderate some positions on culture war issues, if that's...
Well, let me put it this way.
Whatever it is.
Let's talk about my position on the issues. The reason we got 2.5 million more votes under my leadership in the last election than under the previous election was because of the wildly popular positions that I did take to get rid of taxes on fuel, to clear the path for affordable home building, to lock up criminals, to secure our borders, to bring in immigration sanity. I think it's time that Mark Carney moderate his position on the issues. He's doubled Justin Trudeau's deficit, which was already extreme and radical, to $80 billion a year. He's given us the worst food price inflation in the G7. He's kept all of Trudeau's anti-development laws. He continues to have a weak border that allows illegals to be in our country, endangering our people. These are the positions that need to be moderated, conservative positions to make Canada affordable at home, safe at home, and strong at home are the mainstream moderate positions that are overwhelmingly popular and supported by Canadians.
Checkmate. That reporter wants that one back. Awesome answers, shot straight from the hip. No word salad with a generous helping of This is why mainstream media and liberals are constantly smearing him. They fear him. Is the colleague in Ottawa the PM asking for a friend? No kidding. And again, the left is stomping their feet because they know he's right and have zero humility to say so. On this episode of Far Off Ripoff, we're bringing it back, folks. We've got Mark Carney spending $162,000 of our hard-earned money on, drumroll please, strengthening Suriname's construction sector by increasing number of skilled certified workers who can meet modern industry and green infrastructure standards. Now you might be wondering, Suriname, where's that? Suriname is this country here, just to the west of French Guiana in South America, near Venezuela. Carney's spending our money to train people on green construction in the jungle, sustainable construction workforce, finalizing competency based on curriculum in sustainable green construction, supported by qualified trainers and appropriate training facilities. Expected outcome here is improved industry relevant skills and employability of apprentices in green construction sector. Now, why would he spend our money to boost the green construction sector in South America? It's for net zero. He's building more customers for Brookfield using our money in other countries where this stuff can't be audited. We can't get it back. It just send it away and it disappears. I mean, we've got a 2-for-1 on this episode of Far Off Ripoff. We've got $2 million being sent for nuclear security training in Southeast Asia. This is the same thing. He's using our money to boost and build this sector so Brookfield can make more money and thus increase his own shares values in Brookfield. This one seeks to ensure Thailand's autonomy in nuclear security training and to expand the training offered by Thailand's Nuclear Security Support Center to develop nuclear security, yada, yada, you get it. They're building the nuclear industry in Thailand because Brookfield is already a world leader in this and Canada's a world leader. And I'm not against this. We should be exporting that technology, but Carney should not be getting rich off of this. That's the problem. Now, what I do have a problem with is us sending $2 million of our money to Thailand to build this industry. Unless we're going to have direct contracts that come from this, that would make sense. But this makes no sense. Canadians get no value for money. Moving ahead, we've got Ryan Gerritsen posting this. Every single job position I've searched for through the Canada Summer Jobs website automatically puts all straight white people applying at the bottom of the list of applicants. All of them. Look at this. Youth facing barriers to employment. All youth are welcome to apply. The employer will prioritize the recruitment of the following youth who face barriers to employment: Indigenous youth, radicalized youth, Black youth, youth with disabilities, and to us LGBTQI plus youth. This is Canada. It's a race-based society now. Based on the color of your skin, you either get more benefits or less. That's where we are today. That's what the Liberals have done. I wouldn't be surprised if someone tries to sue over this. Is this not illegal, what they're doing? Moving ahead, we've got this. Prime Minister should have to sell assets and divest from tax havens, Ethics Committee recommends. We got Blacklock's posting this. Commons Ethics Committee overrules Liberal objection, says Mark Carney must sell multi-million-dollar stock portfolio as obvious conflict. PM should be held to a higher standard.
And just to comment after Madame Lapointe, in my role as chair, I'm not going to make any apologies for wanting to strengthen the Conflict of Interest Act. and the rules that surround it. I happen to believe that Canadians need to have confidence in their designated public office holders. We heard testimony throughout the course of our study. One in particular disturbed me, and that was the fact that the Brookfield CFO had a meeting with Prime Minister Carney, basically the ability to make a phone call, and he ended up in the Prime Minister's office, despite the fact that an ethics screen has been set up against Brookfield. So I think that should concern anyone, that there's that much access to the Prime Minister's office by people that a so-called ethics screen, and that's why we made one of the recommendations that the ethics screen actually should be applied by nonpartisan people, not by political staffers who are appointed by the Prime Minister to work under his command.
And that's just it. Why do we have someone who works for the government as the ethics screen? That's obviously a conflict of interest in itself. And really, there should be an ethics screen, maybe one from each party. That would be maybe better. That way it guarantees that it's not partisan. And when these things come down, then you would have multiple ethics screens, and sure, you could have a limit. Each party has to have so many seats before they're allowed to have an ethics screen. In this case, you at least have the Conservatives with one, the Bloc with one, and then you could have a nonpartisan one by itself, and then the Liberals can have one too. You'd have 4 ethics screens that all this passes through. That way, there's checks and balances on this stuff.
Total hypocrisy when it comes to the United States. Hi, I'm Brian Lilly, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. For a man so heavily invested in the United States, Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, clearly wants Canadians to fear Americans, to see them as some type of threat. Given that he invoked the War of 1812, it almost seems like he's trying to hint they could invade again, and we need to be ready. We need to be able to fight back. Now, this is a man who has deep, deep ties to the United States. Of course, he was educated there at Harvard. He was the chair of Brookfield Asset Management, the firm whose headquarters he moved from Toronto to New York before becoming Prime Minister of Canada. He has about 6.8 million, or had $6.8 million dollars worth of stock options with Brookfield at the end of 2024. And this is a man whose own investment portfolio, when it was released, showed that he had investments in 567 companies. Only 3 of them were Canadian. 91% of them were in the United States.
I've only heard 2 people, 2 publications, journalists, broadcasters, reporters ever mention this. This is one of them. Obviously, Carney's too invested in America to be the Canadian Prime Minister.